Alright, John, so this is the second video, and here I'm going to highlight the rev and race phases of the throw. So let me first play the throw for you straight through. Okay, and again, this is your final throw of the day, last throw of our session. Okay, so we want to look at the rev, which is the separation of our hands from the football. Okay, our front hand from the football and our back hand with the ball, rather. So we want to think from this position. Sorry, that's my classroom bell. So you want to think from this position. When you go to rev, you're thinking equal and opposite with both hands. Okay. Now you can see right now that you are getting much further back with your right arm, your throwing arm, than you are with your left arm, with your front side arm and hand. Okay. You can also recognize from this position. It's harder for you to see it, but you are actually squeezing that right scap. So you see your elbows driving backwards, back behind your body here, if you can recognize that. So right now we're really getting that chest out in front, and right now both scaps are squeezing and both elbows are behind your body. And we talked about that a little bit. This is something that you've done probably your whole life when you throw a football, so it's going to take some time to change it, but that little bit of scap squeeze is promoting your chest out in front, which is going to make it much harder for that elbow to win the race successfully. And not that it can't do it, just that it's harder to do it. But going back to your rev, okay, the second thing about your rev is watch what is leading your rev movement is your elbows. See how they are going first? Ideally, we want to think about rev is happening from the hands. So think about those hands working to rev. And that way it does less, it promotes less elbow squeeze with those scaps there, and you're going to get a little less arm movement as your elbows go. And right now you are scooping the football, okay, with your right arm, and what happens when you lead with the elbow is now the elbow gets up above the wrist, and now you've got this elbow wrist disassociation, it's called. Okay, and what that means is that your elbows essentially are above your wrists. Okay, now this is something that's been a hot topic lately in looking at quarterbacks, that it does create a little bit of extra variables in your movements. So it makes it a little harder to get to our proper arm path when we have that inverted elbow and wrist situation. So what we want to do is, starting with our elbows below our shoulders, we want to keep our elbows below our shoulders. So almost if your elbows were on this plane right here, let's redraw that, go a little higher. So if your elbows are on this plane and they stay right there. So when you rev, if you can keep your elbows on that plane, you're going to put yourself in a much better position for everything that comes next. If the elbows rise up off that plane, like we're doing here, you're going to create some challenges for yourself. Okay, so we look at the next phase, which is the race and squeeze phase. So from back here, okay, our throwing elbow wants to race low to high to get up in front to that pop position. Okay, and the front side elbow wants to squeeze to the body. So right now we are working, if you see how high your elbow is on the back side, right now you're even. Okay, your elbow and your shoulder are even. With them, the idea is to go low to high, from below the shoulder to above the shoulder on the front side of the body. If you're even with the shoulder on the back side of your body, two things will happen. You either have to dip back down and go back up, or you're going to climb. Okay, now when you first started with me, our first throws, we saw that you were climbing. Now watch here, you drop, and now you're attempting to drive, but you're driving early, so you are dropping, driving, and still climbing right now. Okay, so watch what I'm saying. Elbow high with the shoulder. Now you're going to drop down. There's your drop. Now, even now, instead of just taking off, you're going to see yourself climb over. See that going over the shoulder. Okay, over the shoulder creates a really high, look at how straight your arm is. Okay, you're almost inverted. You have very little flexion left in the elbow at this point, which means you don't have a lot of snap to come out of that arm. And the ball path is now going to be a pulling down motion. Okay, it's more of a pulling down motion, which makes it real easy for that nose of the football to end up diving. And you can see right now the nose of the ball is just slightly downward. Whereas we talked about when we were in pop position, the point of the ball wanted to be slightly up and slightly out. So this elbow situation is going to cause a whole bunch of other things to happen. Ideally, when we want to go from here, okay, if we kept our elbow below our shoulder on the back end of our rev, okay, and you raced from here, working low to high, front side arm wants to squeeze on the front side of the body. You want to pass through pop position, okay, still with flexion in the elbow, and get all the way through so that when you get to this position, your arm is still not extended. So you still have bend in the elbow here. Then you will snap and extend from there. Much lower of a ball path and an arm path. Elbow still would be above the shoulder, but now your trajectory is much more north to south, and you're going to get behind that football rather than coming over top and pulling down on the football. Again, if the wrist is loaded in the proper position, the nose of the ball will be slightly up and slightly out when you release the ball, and you're going to put yourself in the best position to be effective with your mechanics. And the very last thing I'm going to draw your attention to, I know there's a lot in this video, is that squeeze. So you notice right here that your front shoulder is opening, right? When the front shoulder opens, combine the front shoulder opening with scap squeeze, and you've got chest out front. See that? Chest in front. Now you are right now, there's the finish line for our race. Elbow versus the chest. You want to see the elbow driving in front and winning that race with the chest. Right now your chest is just about winning. Okay, and what that does is it does not allow your arm to function at its maximum capacity. So with that shoulder rolling open, you end up with an elbow drift wide outside your body, and it takes longer for it to get to its desired position. So instead of opening that front shoulder, we want to think more about the squeeze of the front elbow to keep our body closed as long as possible. Now notice that elbow is not making contact with your body. You want to actually really squeeze that elbow, bang, right now, and make that happen at the exact same time that your throwing elbow reaches pop position. So it's simultaneous, pop position and squeeze completion. That's going to help speed up your arm movements, your arm motion, which in turn speeds up your throwing motion, which in turn gives you velocity on the football, which will help create efficiency in your movement. Okay, so I know that was a little bit of a mouthful, but take this one, run it back, watch it several times, try to digest all that. But they're not major changes, but they're going to be more challenging because it's something you came to me with that you probably have done most of your life. So we're looking to sort of attract attention to the deficits and slowly chip away and rework that pathway to give you more consistency, which means more efficiency, more effectiveness. All right?